Okay, solid dose drug. You need to know how your state does solid dose drug testing, and specifically here's why. There's different ways of doing it. Stereo microscopy, okay? They look for marijuana particularly for what's called syphilitic hairs. They don't put it through the gas chromatograph. Not even my state does that. What they do is they take a look at it, and it's basically pattern recognition, which basically is code for, I got good eyeballs and it looks like marijuana to me. And that's literally what they do, is they look for syphilitic hairs and structures that go along with the marijuana, and that they say they got a good set of eyes, and they saw the syphilitic hairs here that they're looking for, and they put acid on it and it bubbles up, and that they can take a look at the 20 times microscope, and those are the actual hairs that they look for. And there's a great guy by the name of Fred Whitehurst, who's a good friend of mine, former FBI guy, who this is his life mission, to show how ridiculous marijuana identification is in this day and age, because the bottom line of it is there's 20 million plants that are out there, and for us to conclude that to the exclusion of all the other plants in the world based upon syphilitic hairs being present, that's never been proven. So if you want to get involved with that, it's a great way to frustrate a prosecutor when you have a marijuana case, because it's true, you know, because they can't shove it through a gas chromatograph and identify it that's out there. So polarized light microscopy, this is what they used to do in my state. What they would do is they would take polarized light, and guess what? That's cocaine, because nothing else looks like that, right? Okay, it looks like a snowflake or something like that. The bottom line of it is that the way that it shines, because it shines a certain way, you can see how subjective it totally is. And the next type of thing that has to do with it is you have to understand that generally speaking, different molecules have different chemical structures that are there. This is a gas chromatograph, the biggest, scariest machine that we as DUI defense attorneys have ever heard of. And it's really not scary. I took a week-long course like Jay said. And this is basically what it is. It's basically comes in a couple different flavors. The first one's called a packed column. It really isn't used anymore. And then there's a capillary column. All it is a fancy oven that heats the volatile substance and shoots it through, and as how fast it comes out tells you the separation, and therefore can kind of identify it. So I'm going to show you exactly in 2 slides how a gas chromatograph works. This is a headspace gas chromatograph. Okay? What you have is you have a sample vial of the, that contains the blood that you have treated with the internal standard. This is the piercing mechanism. That's the septa, or the top of it. What it does is it comes in, it pierces the top, and then what ends up happening is the gas comes out, goes through the column, and as it hits the flame at the end, it shoots up. So we'll see it one more time. That is what, and at the end, the graphical representation of what comes out, that's how you get the peaks. That's called the chromatogram. You need to get the chromatograms in your cases when you have these types of cases. But the most important thing, and I'll show you basically what this is very briefly, is the relative retention times that are there, and that's the internal standard. But the bottom line of it is that when you have a direct injection device, this is the way a direct injection, as opposed to headspace, it goes directly into the blood, sucks it up, vaporizes it, shoots it through, same principle with a flame ionization detector, elutes as it's called, and hits it. That's what a chromatogram looks like. So when we take a look at this, very specifically, what you have to remember with a gas chromatograph, with a flame ionization detector, is that a GC itself, as an instrument, the gas chromatograph, is a qualitative analytical method whereby it alone is used. If that's the only thing, without a flame ionization detector, without a mass spec on the end of it, it can only tell the characteristic is present by the retention time, or how quickly it comes out, as opposed to, as it's compared against a known. At best, using a GC, you can say that it's a suspect analyte, or what you're looking for. You can't conclude that. That's what the next instrument is that we're going to talk about here very, very briefly. And that is what all of these DUI blood cases should be done on. It's called a mass spec. GC, MS, gas chromatogram, mass spec. basically the same general principles that are involved. You have a sample that's put in a carousel. There's a piercing mechanism that comes in. It elutes or goes through the heated oven, comes out, and instead what it has is it has basically an ion. It basically ionizes it and splits it apart. We're going to show you exactly what that means right here. So what we did is we zoomed in on this part right here to show what it is. That's the molecule going in. It gets zapped and it splits apart. The way that it splits apart is the way that you can tell what it is as opposed to anything else on the planet Earth. It's highly, highly specific. So the more complicated it is, you zap it, comes out in its different parts, the easier it is to tell what it is. So this is what it is. This is a coca-guana molecule, and these are the mass fragments after you hit it and bombard it. What ends up happening is that there's relative amounts that are there in the mass fragments that appear. So what you have is what this is called is a total ion or mass spectrogram. And basically what it does is the abundance, or where it is and where the particles break apart, is what we're looking for. This is a standard for cocaine, and what the library says that's what it should look like when you break it apart to tell whether or not it's cocaine. But there are a lot of other things that are not dissimilar in terms of their chemical makeup that are there.